I need you for my intro. Sit still and look pretty. The camera's over there. So. Hey there, are you looking for some fun and simple painting ideas that don't look like your cat walked all over them? Okay, maybe one of them looks a little bit like your cat walked all over them, but just one of them. So small. All of the ideas today are going to be done exclusively just with watercolors, and you can use any colors that you want. You can see here I used this big palette with a variety of colors, but you can use any colors that you want. I detached the mixing palette here because I'm not going to need it, but you can mix any colors that you want. For the first one here, I used hot press watercolor paper, and I'm still getting used to hot press paper, I have to admit, but this is a very simple idea and a cute way to practice a new type of paper. I have a very big variety of colors here on this specific painting. That's because I wanted to use as many of the colors from the palette that I have. The palette is from Meeden, as are all the other products that I'm using in this video, because this video is kindly sponsored by Meeden. You can recreate all of these with any types of watercolors though that you have on hand. I'm just going to show you the range of this specific palette. And again, this is hot press paper just for the first idea. For everything else, I used cold press watercolor paper, which I'm used to a lot more. And you can recreate this very simple idea here with any type of paper. And like I said, multiple types of paint. You could also use other wet media for this. And I just wanted to be really playful with this. I sketched a few of these paw prints just to make sure that I got the right shape for them. But for the most part, I just winged it a little bit. I mean, you can kind of tell that I did that, but also I was just being super playful here. So with this one, I would say it is a good warm up, something that you can do on a day where you just feel very playful and you don't want to do any rigid type of art where you have to plan everything out and do everything perfectly. This is just a colorful mess in the best way, I would say. And I'm sure that this is probably my cat's favorite one of this video. I don't know, he is really not the best art critic, to be honest. It's really hard to get him to look at an art piece for an extended period of time. And my other cat, he just literally cares about food, and that's pretty much it. So I don't know, but this is really, really fun for somebody who has any type of pets, honestly. These could easily be paw prints of other animals. Right at the top of my head, I don't know how many of these Tobin's dogs have, if these could also be dog prints, I don't know, but you can adjust it. You could also do other animal prints or whatever they would be called. I think these are just the ones where you could most easily tell what it is. If you can, I'm not sure. If you look at this piece, this might also look like a bunch of colorful blobs, but that's okay. This is, like I said, just a really, really fun one, and you could do that even if you're a complete beginner. For the next one, I am using some detail brushes here, and I wanted to kind of swatch all of the colors, but I think that swatches are super boring. I don't really like doing swatches for the most part unless I have a really weird day where my brain can do swatches, but for the most part I find them really, really boring and I have to get through them. And this is a big palette here, so I didn't really want to swatch all of these colors, so I thought I'd do that in a more creative way here. And I drew or painted little triangles with every single color here. So every single triangle that you see here is one of the colors in the palette. And I'm gonna tell you once I have done every color once and once I am starting to repeat colors. So you don't need this large amount of colors for this idea, because in the end I still managed to mix more colors even though there's so many in this set. And I definitely didn't have to mix as much, but you could mix all of your colors and you could also repeat colors. So here I was, like I said, challenging myself to use every single color. So at this point, I was not repeating any of the colors. I started to do that towards the end of the piece though. And you can do this in a limited color palette as well. I find that this piece is very, very colorful. So I'm sure this is not everybody's cup of tea, because it also has neon colors and shimmery colors, and obviously everything that was in there is on this painting now. And I just challenged myself to kind of make it look good, but I did go in the order of how they're in the palette. And it is not fully a rainbow because of all the specialty colors, of all the shimmery ones and the neon ones. They're kind of together. And so this does not make the perfect rainbow. And so it also doesn't make the perfect gradient on my art piece. But I kind of think that that's a little bit fun though, because it's not perfect. And some triangles are super wonky and some triangles aren't even triangles. I'm not sure. At this point, I don't think there's anything that is not a triangle, but you might be able to spot a few here and there that are not triangles, that have more than 3 points, just because I couldn't really fully fit them perfectly, but that's okay. Like I said, this does not have to be perfect. None of the ideas that I'm showing you today have to be recreated perfectly. That's the whole point anyways. This honestly felt a little bit like a coloring page in a way. This felt very meditative, very fun because it's so colorful. And I had the challenge of trying to make the colors go together, even though there's a big range. So I felt very hyped up from doing this. This felt really fun for me. And this took quite a while. I can't tell you out of the top of my head how long this took. But if you're looking for a quick idea, I would definitely recommend making the triangles a lot bigger, because it took me quite a lot of time to just paint all of these little triangles. And I tried to make the spacing in between the triangles look nice too. And that worked really well with the detail brushes, but it just takes a little bit of time and figuring out and playing around with that. And some of the triangles you can see are super long, so that was not fully planned, but just something that happened. And I think that this one here, the purple one, is the first one that is not a perfect triangle, because I just hit the edge of the paper here. And with some other ones, I just couldn't really fully fit perfect triangles anymore. But like I said, perfection is definitely overrated here. The most important thing here is that you have fun, because this one has the potential of being a very, very fun and playful page. And I also got a really good overview of all of the colors. Here you can see this was the point where I had done all of the colors in the palette once. So now I know the range of all of them in this palette. And also, by the way, I am painting from right to left. I do that all the time, almost with every single piece that I do. And obviously that is because I'm left-handed and I don't want to smudge my art. And especially with watercolors, this is a good idea for me, because I do smudge my art anyways. This one is also not a triangle, by the way, but this reduces that by a lot. This makes my life so much easier. So I mentioned that in my last video, and a bunch of other left-handed people actually told me they'd never thought about that. So I'm saying it here again. If you are left-handed, then try that out. Try painting from right to left, because it's gonna save you a lot of headache. I would definitely write from right to left too, if I could. That doesn't really work that well with our letter system and all that, but I have invented a secret, it's not a language, a secret way of writing. I don't know, I have developed different letters that can be written from right to left, and I write like that sometimes in my diary. So little fun fact here, because I just prefer going from right to left. I know, because the vast majority of people are right-handed. I understand that we are writing from left to right because it's just so much more comfortable to go with the direction of your hand. But unfortunately, I am not right-handed, so this is what I am doing. I'm going the other way. I mean, who cares? I really had a lot of fun with this. You can see that I have a bunch of new colors popping up actually. I repeated some of the colors in the palette that I really enjoyed, but at this point I was also mixing quite a lot of them, and I got even more colors. So I achieved a few that I really enjoy. I really like those muted blue tones especially. I like some of the green tones, like the one that I'm using right now. I really enjoy a big variety of those colors, and I try to make all of the colors go together somewhat. And I think that given the fact that I used so many colors, I also really enjoyed this purple here, by the way, even though this is also not a triangle. But even though I used so many colors here, I think it's still, it's not an eyesore, or at least it's not too bad. I think it definitely reminds me of stained glass. This next idea here is super satisfying and also very calming. I can guarantee you that one, because I did this at 2 to 3 a.m. when I couldn't sleep one night. I was definitely craving something calm, and this was the next best thing. I wanted water that's flowing. I wanted something satisfying. And I don't know, I just started painting that without really thinking about this. And on this painting, you can really see how nice the paints were flowing on the cold press paper that I used here. I only used the brush that is in the set with the watercolors, and I have to say that I really enjoy that brush because it holds a lot of water and it still comes to a nice fine point. So hopefully I'm gonna be able to use this one for the long term. We will see, but I definitely really enjoyed this piece, and this one was also a joy to edit the footage of, much more than the one I showed you before, because this one I just didn't have to change colors so much. So this definitely is, maybe this was even my favorite one of this video today. I love blue and green tones. My favorite color is turquoise, and this is kind of an intersection of those. I also put a little bit of a touch of purple in there, and this is a very abstract way of painting water, I would say. And I am definitely surprised by how nice this turned out. And by the end of this painting, I definitely felt much calmer. I mean, I couldn't sleep for another 2 hours after that, but I was calmer. I did a variety of shapes here. Some are more wavy, some are more like little drops, some are circular. So I just painted whatever came to my mind in that moment. I didn't really plan it out or think it through. And again, I went from right to left. But I think that this painting looks best when you rotate it once, so that it actually looks like waves that are kind of flowing down. I will show you that afterwards when it's finished, because I think that even more gets to the point of what I was going with this piece, but I went in the direction of my hand, if that makes any sense. That's why the waves are flowing sort of diagonally, because that just kind of felt natural in that moment. And I'm still honestly shocked that I did this in the middle of the night. I am not a very nocturnal person at the moment. I have, for the most part, a very regular sleep schedule. I definitely sleep at 2 to 3 a.m. normally. It was just that one night that I don't know why. And I was so wide awake. I hadn't even fallen asleep yet. We usually go to bed at, I don't know, 10, 11. If it's 11:30, it's already late for us. So that's when we usually are already sleeping, and I just could not sleep. And at 2 a.m., I decided to give up because I was wide awake. And I thought, okay, now I'm wide awake, and during the day, I'm so tired. So why don't I just go ahead and paint something? And so I painted this, and I did not regret that decision, because then in the morning I just slept in and I knew I had already painted something. So that kind of felt, I don't know, it is a messed up sleep schedule when you do that, but it also felt like I invented a new hack there. It doesn't really happen very regularly that I work at these more unconventional times. I sometimes work on the weekends, but it is planned out, and then I don't work on Mondays usually when I work on Saturday. So I try to take as much rest as I can, but painting at 2 to 3 a.m. is definitely not something that I usually do. But maybe I should do it more. I don't know. I just really enjoy the way that this one turned out. I bet this painting would look really nice hung up on the wall somewhere. So let's see what that would look like. Here you can see a few mock-ups of it in a room. I had this idea of showing you my art like that from my friend Creative Paula here on YouTube, because she does that in most of her videos. Speaking of Paula, she recently brought out a coloring book that I've been dying to use for a while now. So for the next painting idea here, I copied 2 of her designs onto printer paper, and then I transferred that onto my watercolor paper, because she has a few of these in her book that are a little bit long, like a vertical format, and I thought that this would make the perfect bookmark. And I really enjoy the way that these 2 little pieces look. So here you can see me transferring that onto my watercolor paper, and then I started to color that in, and this was so satisfying to paint. I even did the outlines with watercolors. I used the detail brushes for that again, and the watercolor just flowed so nicely on top of the paper here. I was playing around with different effects. This watercolor palette here is definitely such a fun one. I have reached for that one quite a bit over the last few days because it has so many cool colors in it. And if you're someone who doesn't have a large watercolor collection yet, then a set like this might be really nice. It is also super sturdy. It is a very nice hard plastic, and I think it could make a nice Christmas present if you're still looking for something for an artist. And as always, all of the products that I used in this video are listed in the description box. I'll also put Paula's book in there in case you're interested. I can't wait to color in the book directly over my Christmas break and just sink my hands into that one and really enjoy some coloring. I've really had a lot of fun coloring in different coloring books lately, and so I can't wait to do that off camera just for myself. But I am so happy with how these 2 on the watercolor paper turned out, because I got to make a really cute bookmark that I can use now. I have been reading quite a lot lately. I've definitely cut down my screen time by a lot, like 95% at least. I watch almost nothing these days, and I am reading a lot. I am currently reading Slow Productivity by Cal Newport, and I'm also currently, for the first time, reading Anne of Green Gables, which is such a fun and joyful book. And I think that this bookmark would look really cute in that book. And I have finished reading Pride and Prejudice. I've never read that before. I never saw any of the movies. I have to say, Pride and Prejudice is a hard one to read if you're not a native English speaker. And maybe even if you are, it is a very, very old book, but I can kind of see what the hype is all about. I really enjoyed the main character especially. It was just in the beginning, I was so confused with who everyone is and who was talking. It's kind of hard to understand when you have never known the plot before, because I never watched any of the movies and anything like that, but it definitely feels so Bridgerton. I can definitely see that Bridgerton was heavily inspired by Jane Austen, because it is just the world itself and the way that all of the people are described. So right now I am doing all of these little outlines here, and then I'm also going to do just a few highlights for some finishing touches. And I painted the creature on the left green and the one on the right pink, so it's kind of a yin and yang thing. And here you can see I laminated the bookmark, and I'm really happy with how this one turned out. So this is kind of one painting or two, depending on how you count that. If you'd like to see some more fun and creative ideas, then check out this video next.